Hello, let's talk about errors and omissions insurance. And I just thought we should discuss a few tips. Now, I know we've got 8 hours of mandatory law update for you to get through with this course, and you're kind of probably towards the beginning of the course, so you still got to follow through and finish it. However, this is personally maybe my one takeaway, my one thing of anything that you do or remember from this course. This is it. And I know you all woke up this morning thinking, what is the most fascinating topic we could do today? And I'm sure it wasn't errors and omissions insurance. However, again, this is the one tip. If you are watching this in the beginning of the year, please go to your calendar right now and set a reminder to pay your errors and omissions insurance. Please get it on the calendar. It is not worth forgetting about this. If you are watching it towards the end of the year, stop as soon as you are done with this video and pay your policy. Now, some of you may not pay yours directly. Some brokers pay it for you. That's a perk of working with them. Some of you have a broker who maybe pays for it and then has you reimburse. That way they know for sure it gets done. And then the third option is you go out and pay it on your own and then maybe provide proof of it to your broker. I'm sure I've forgotten a couple of options with that. Whatever the case may be, please make sure it's done. It's great that your broker does it. I would love a broker that did it for me. Just kidding, I do my own. Yet at the same time, it's still your responsibility to make sure that it's done. So please, if anything, get a copy of your paid renewal form so that we know it's done by the end of the year. And I would say store that somewhere safe. If you do electronic storage, of course, through Dotloop or DocuSign. I'm a fan of just storing a lot of stuff in there. That way it's one-stop shop, but whatever you do for organization, put that as part of your plan. Errors and omissions insurance is sort of like our malpractice insurance for a doctor. And Iowa law requires us to have it at all times. Now, the Real Estate Commission reserves the right every once in a while to do an audit of all of those folks that are not carrying a current policy. And they also publish the names of everyone that did not have a policy when they needed one. And a few years ago, I read that report and I stopped counting at 200 names in Iowa of real estate agents and brokers who did not renew their insurance and got a $1,000 fine. So the state of Iowa made over $200,000 just in fines over errors and omissions policies that I think on average are probably about $150 a year. Please do not be one of those folks. Again, it's $1,000 fine, but even and maybe a violation on your license. But there's a bigger problem than just that I think that we need to review. So here's some of our tips. There are 4 very, very, very important dates that we've got to keep in mind. When you've got a policy that is maybe going to be filed, it's not a red light, green light. Do you have insurance or don't you? So it's not just about paying your policy. It's about not having any gaps in your policy. Here's why. The 4 dates that they're going to take a look at is, when did your policy term begin? When was the creation of that renewal period, and did you have continuous coverage? Now, here's where it goes even deeper. They're also going to look at the date this incident occurred. So when did you sell this property to these clients? Or when did you represent these sellers that this issue has arisen? And if there's any, again, gap in insurance, you may not have coverage. The third date that they look at, so we have when you purchased your policy, when the actual occurrence happened. The third date is, when did this client notify you about an issue? And then the fourth most important date is, when did you call your E&O policy carrier and notify them of the issue? At any time, if you don't have coverage on any of those 4 dates, you might have a problem. So just make sure that you're being very, very careful. Now in Iowa, my experience is most of us are carrying insurance with risk, RISC insurance. And I did pull some content from them today to help us with some of our tips. That policy is one that, again, I think a lot of us use. However, I think there's other providers out there. And sometimes we maybe move to that other provider because we think it's less expensive, better coverage, whatever the case may be. I've heard of instances that when you switch carriers like that, then if someone calls that had an issue from a year ago, and now you've got this new insurance when they contact you, which would be date 3 of the 4, you've switched policy carriers. Now who's going to represent you? So just be very careful before you switch policies too. Even if you're maintaining continuous coverage, make sure you read the fine print to see if someone from the past makes a future claim, which one of those policies is going to cover you. So just a word to the wise. Now, those are the 4 important dates. My other one I'm going to recommend to you is, if for some reason you're getting out of the business, do get tail insurance. This is insurance to cover you after you're no longer licensed. So if you're retiring, you decided to go inactive, or another third one I found interesting is that they suggested even tail coverage upon your death. That way your estate would be covered in case anyone filed a complaint after you pass. So do look at tail coverage if you're going to be getting out of the business for any reason. So here's some policy upgrades. And again, review your policy. You've got a lot of really great basic coverage for the investment you make on a yearly basis. To me, this is the most important bill you pay all year long. A few of the basic things that it covers that you can upgrade, though, is there is an increase in bodily injury or property damage. You can buy more coverage on that. There is another policy upgrade that you can do called constructed by a spouse. So if you've got a builder spouse that builds homes and you're listing them representing buyers, that would be an excellent one. And I believe it's $250 for a year. So great investment for those of you that are builder spouses. The next one is personal coverage. And I want to break those apart. There's primary residence coverage that most of you probably get as part of the standard policy. I believe that's the standard with risk. Then there's an additional policy that you can get for personal coverage that would be for things beyond your personal residence. So any of you doing rental investments, any of you doing flip properties, this would be a great policy for you to investigate. And one that I would maybe even recommend you just carry on a regular basis, because gosh only knows when that deal is going to come up that's going to trip the trigger for you to decide to flip or buy your first rental. So if you're currently not in that game, it might be one for you to carry just in case, right? If you are doing that personal coverage for your flips and rentals, make sure you read the fine print. I do believe in order for this policy to cover you, you've got to own the property for a minimum amount of days. And so if you would sell it before that minimum, you might have a little bit of a gap on whether your insurance would protect you or not, which if it didn't protect you would leave you going and pursuing a lawsuit on your own with your own finances. Another upgrade that you can do is increased limits. So this might be for some of you who are selling over a certain number of homes a year, or maybe your average sales price is over greatly, maybe for the average of your local market. I would investigate that one again if you are a high volume producer, either by average sales price or by number of transactions. Consult your insurance and your broker what's best for you. Next is we do have some new and enhanced policies that it looks like have come up. They came up really in 2021, it looks like. But I'll be honest with you, I had never even known that they did these upgrades and enhancements. It looks like there is a new form of firm coverage for brokerages that covers specifically team coverage. So I know that teams have become really popular in the last few years. I'm not sure what all that covers, what all that policy might look like, but definitely something to investigate if you are on a team. Some other enhancements that were on there. Fair housing and discrimination. I believe the policy limits were increased. Issues arising out of earnest money or escrow deposits. Environmental issues. And then the last one that it looks like they enhanced was coverage around lock boxes and incidentals related to that. Now, here's the big one, and I've already mentioned this one, but this is where it all comes to fruition. You got to renew your policy by December 31st. So again, get that on your calendar, or if it's late in the year, pay it right now as soon as you're done with this video, and then put it on your calendar for next year. This is one that it is not cute to procrastinate on. This is probably the most valuable thing that you pay in your business. Because without this coverage, you don't really need your cell phone to make phone calls, or besides it being a requirement by law, it's really, really a good business enhancement. So I hope that this was helpful. And helps you understand a little bit more about how these policies work. And we are on to your next chapter.